Welcome to SAM Conversation, a program of South Asia Monitor. It's time now to look at the new direction that India and Afghan Taliban are taking. The relationship between India and the Afghan Taliban, what new direction it's taking, and for that it is our pleasure to welcome Dr. Smruti Pattanaik, a research fellow of the Manohar Parrikar Institute for Defense Studies and Analysis. She is a very experienced person in South Asia, in South Asian affairs. Dr. Pattanaik, a lot has happened and is happening. Right from the time the Afghan Taliban foreign minister visited us and we gave the world a surprise by firstly not only inviting them but arranging for them to meet the a very old group here. This tenure of the Taliban is certainly not the same as the first tenure. And as far as India is concerned, I recall writing about 5 papers on from the time we entered Afghanistan and opened our embassy there, and we began a long process of assistance by way of reconstruction and so many other aspects. What all would you like to bring out on this?
See, I think it is a very significant development, and the Taliban 2.0, India has been keen in engaging them. As you know, Anil, we have invested near about $3 billion in Afghanistan in development and assistance. We have been also partnering in capacity building exercises with Afghanistan for quite some time, and also we are constructing roads, railways, the full Kumri, the electricity grid, which brings electricity to Kabul. So our engagement with Afghanistan has been long-standing. And I think Afghanistan at this point of time also needs India's engagement and India's investment. And the Taliban, after coming to power, they expressed that keenness that India should continue with the developmental work it was doing, because that was beneficial for Afghanistan. As you know, the Taliban government is not recognized by any countries, and China and Russia, if I'm not mistaken, they have already opened their embassy. We had a technical mission, that is what India used to call, in Kabul, but now that has been upgraded to a full-fledged Indian embassy there. So what does this signal? I think this signals that India's commitment to be engaged in developmental activities in Afghanistan, one. Number two, India has its own security concerns. It does not want the Afghan territory to be used against India, a place which Taliban has already taken and given an assurance. Number three is the Chabahar port, which India has been developing. And if you have seen the news report today, it says that India has been given a reprieve from the United States, which had said that it would put sanction. I think we have got time till next year, probably. I don't remember the date, but till next year. So therefore, the development of the port and Afghanistan becomes very significant for our trade with the landlocked Central Asian countries. And the Chabahar port will also provide access to Afghanistan. And if you remember, a few years back, India, Afghanistan, and Iran had a trilateral on Chabahar. So all this, I think, are very significant, because Chabahar and our connectivity to Central Asia should be seen along with INSTC and the IMEC, which was proposed. So therefore, I think overall a very significant development. So therefore, I will not compare the Taliban 2.0 with Taliban
Absolutely
1.0 as
no,
far as
there's no,
India is
absolutely no
concerned.
comparison. But I think you will agree that there's so much that we did there, which is paying us now with Taliban, Taliban's second tenure. They, there were instances when, let's say, the border roads for, the Indian working there were attacked by the then Taliban. But now just see, the same Taliban is now, when you put in the total the amount of assistance that we began with, the first was, food, reconstruction, that the Delaram Zaranj road, and then so many other things, the parliament, much of it done in the period of Taliban 1, and also now it has continued in the period of Taliban 2. So, as far as I think assistance to them is concerned, we probably are heading, the in amount.
No, this investment started during, when Ashraf Ghani was in power,
Yes.
and prior to that, after the fall of the Taliban
Yes.
1.0. And taking this distinction between 1.0 and 2.0, because 1.0 was very much aligned with Pakistan. If you remember,
Oh,
if
of
you read the
course, of
book by
course, of
Mullah,
course, of course.
mm, so obviously, the current
Uh,
Taliban government, they also probably have taken some lessons from their 1.0, what they went through in terms of their foreign relations, their contact with outside power. So this time it appears, one is not sure to, one should not jump into any very conclusion really very quickly. The Taliban also want economic development. They're facing a lot of crisis because they're not recognized by any government in the world. And they also want the foreign countries to be engaged to bring in investment to Afghanistan. So two of the countries who have always been interested in investing in Afghanistan, one is India, the other one is China. So obviously China had interest in these, Hajigok mines, which we were, Hajigok and Ainakat, the two mines, the two countries were supposed to develop. So, so Indian consortium has, this mining interest in Afghanistan. The question is how to evacuate the minerals. So obviously in that context, the Chabar will play a very significant role.
well, what I think at this point, what is most important is that the Afghan Taliban and Pakistan relationship has changed so drastically to to India's advantage. I mean, just see that the very news about um, the Afghan, foreign minister coming to India, that itself caused such a reaction that the attacks began even before he came here. And while he was here and after his return, they've continued. And Pakistan army has been getting it pretty badly, not only from the Afghan Taliban, but the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, and let's not forget the Balochis. Right? Let's recall not too long ago the way the Balochis were able to hijack their train. That, of course, that also is possible not only because of the Balochis, but because of the kind of support that the Balochis were getting from the Afghan Taliban and the Taliban, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. But at this point of time, I think it matters a lot to us.
I think, yes, Pakistan is a factor, but I don't think India's relationship with Afghanistan has to have a Pakistan factor. We have an independent relations. As I said, we need the connectivity to the Central Asian countries, and Afghanistan can provide that connectivity. the Afghanistan-Pakistan tension, which has risen because of the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, and Pakistan has always accused Afghanistan of sheltering the TTP in its territory. And TTP has been involved in a lot of violence that has been recently happening in Pakistan, of course, prior to that. Now, the thing is that if you look at this entire struggle, the fight which against the United States presence, prior to withdrawal of the United States, the Tehrik-e-Taliban also provided foot soldier to Taliban to fight the American force stationed in Afghanistan. So therefore, after the withdrawal of United States, the Taliban feels a little reluctant to really give away the TTP, which was its brother-in-arm during their jihad against the United States. That is number one. Number two is that the Taliban has always denied. Of course, this is something which one cannot really believe. The TTP, militants are there. As you know, there is a very porous border that exists between Afghanistan and Pakistan. In any case, Afghanistan does not recognize the Durand line. So this affinity between the militant groups, especially who fought along with Taliban during the American presence, actually does not allow the Taliban to give up. If you go by the the principles, especially the Pashtunwali code also, because majority of the Taliban are Pathans. So this is one. Second is that, the cross-border strikes, Pakistan decision to send back the Afghan refugees at a time when Afghanistan itself was facing crisis was also not taken kindly by the Taliban regime, because most of these people, it was a kind of humanitarian crisis, and they were forced to leave Pakistan and get back to Afghanistan. That also was a kind of contention between the two. Second, the cross-border raids that has been taken up by the Pakistan army on in Afghanistan is something the Taliban sees as a kind of threat to their sovereignty. Of course, now the Taliban is saying in any case there is no border that exists between Pakistan and Afghanistan. So this tension after Taliban took over, because Pakistan expected that peace in
will be
Afghanistan.
its great backyard, the strategic depth, so to
Yes,
speak.
strategic depth, and also peace in Afghanistan would mean that their western border will be much more peaceful, whereas they can take on the eastern border. But the western border has not been peaceful even after Taliban came to power. Pakistan also thought that it can play a dominant role as it played during Taliban 1.0. That also has not been possible. So therefore, Pakistanis who were very, very elated when the United States left Afghanistan are one of the most dissatisfied or disgruntled currently in, as far as their relationship with Afghanistan is concerned.
Now, I think another very important aspect which, or a possibility which is not getting confirmed so far, is the Afghan Taliban's invitation or request for Indian forces to take charge in Bagram and the Wakhan corridor, the use of the Wakhan corridor. I mean, this is the first time that the Afghan Taliban have acknowledged that, look, there is a common border that Afghanistan and India also have, which no one ever talked about in the past, because everything got obscured by the fact that, okay, that's Pakistan is in the middle, and there's what do you call it, Pakistan occupied Kashmir, Pakistan occupied Jammu Kashmir or Azad Kashmir or whatever, and but now there's a lot of all that is being talked about, and on some networks in YouTube they say we've already gone and taken over there, both land and air force, both army and air force. I'm not certainly confirming that. Certainly I cannot. But the way it's being talked about, I think the possibility cannot be ruled out. Your take on that?
I don't think India will put its their force or the army and take over the Bagram base there. I don't think India is interested. We have a policy of not putting our soldiers in such kind of situation, especially after 1987, the Indo-Lanka, where we had sent the peacekeeper. After that, if you
Yes, yes.
notice, there is a decision in India that we will never send our troops to anywhere, except for the UN peacekeeping, going under a particular banner. And that is one of the reasons why, when the United States had wanted India to send its
Of
troops,
course, of
said
course.
no until there is a UN banner. So we will not, I don't think this is a kind of speculation. They are also playing into rhetorics just to tell the Pakistanis that, we are friends with India, kind of thing. That is the kind of signal they want to send. But I don't think this is something which is feasible or India has thought about putting its force. Probably the Taliban should think of getting the Americans back in Bagram. Maybe the American will provide them with a kind of
Oh,
security.
Americans now, please, the Americans, at least Trump is all on, he's raring to go like a
Yes, that's
crazy horse.
true. But the thing is, the Americans were there. Trump is not going to stay beyond the second term. So, if the Taliban is so much of
Yes, but Smriti, Trump has been there. He's been
see,
there and is going to be there for
the only,
long enough
only
to do a lot
country,
of damage.
no, the only country who is interested to go to Bagram is the United States. So if Taliban is so keen to stop the Pakistanis from attacking, they should put the United States.
No, but I don't think, from whatever has emerged in the past few weeks, I don't think the Afghan Taliban is disposed very positively towards at least the Trump regime, so to speak.
No, that is true. So I am just proposing, if there's
And
so much of interest, rather than asking India to come there, which India will not, so they should ask the interested party if they want to come, they want to be there. Obviously, it will not be in India's interest, the American presence there, and we know the American presence. They want the presence there to keep an eye on Iran, Russia, and China. So
yes,
therefore, it does not serve India's interest.
but
I'm just rhetorically said, if the
but
Taliban is so keen
yes,
to give the Bagram,
yes, Smruti. But please also remember that for the first time, at least a statement has been made by Indian leaders that whatever cartographic lines we have are not they're not so sacrosanct anymore. Or if I may put it that way. I mean, we've almost said that it's been said both by the political and the army leadership that the shape of the border may change. The geography, and that will mean the history also may change. I mean, all this is we were not given to making such statements in the past. And from Sindoor, I see that it's a new normal.
yeah, it is,
It is a
that
new
is much
normal.
more
So,
Pakistan. Since we are speaking of Afghanistan, I think the tension there is something which will keep the Afghan Taliban engaged. We had also, when the Taliban foreign minister was in India, there was an air attack by Pakistan, though Pakistan did not confirm that. So I think that is something probably the Taliban need to take into account. And of course, there is this peace talk which is going on, supposed to be ceasefire, but then again, there is a possibility of ceasefire violence. See, the Afghanistan-Pakistan war will be a very different kind of war. Taliban always fight a different kind of war. They don't need tanks, they don't need the air force, probably they don't need artillery gun. Their methodology is very different.
but the fact remains that now they have all these things which you mentioned, which
Yeah,
which the US left, which the Americans, left behind when they hightailed it, when they, with their
yes,
tails on fire,
yes.
literally, when they left. So, one, as a soldier, really don't like speaking about other soldiers, but that's the way they went after 20 years.
Yeah, that is
And there's
true.
a book which I wrote, after Abbottabad, Terror to Turmoil in Pakistan, where, just look at the way they caught Osama bin Laden, how long it took them.
Yeah.
So their operations, etc. The far from being, they were far from effective. So anyway, um, anything you'd like to add, Smriti, before we, because we are a little strapped for time, and um, anything you'd like to add?
I would say that for the long-term interest of India, this engagement with Afghanistan is significant because it's not the question of engaging with Taliban, but it is also carrying out the developmental activities which actually directly links us to the people of Afghanistan, with whom we share a historical connection. So therefore, it needs to be seen, our engagement with Afghanistan needs to be seen in the larger geopolitical context as well as neighborhood policy. As I said, it has geostrategic significance, India's presence in Afghanistan, in development projects especially, and also our connectivity to Central Asia. I think those are the two things which India is very keen on, and that is why India has been very keen on developing the infrastructure there. And so I think that will take us a long way in sustaining the India-Afghanistan relations in spite of whoever is in power. And that is one of the reasons why Taliban wanted India to be back in Afghanistan because of the kind of work we did. We're not party to the kind of geopolitics that was happening at that point of time. We're more into the development projects, and we wanted a stability in Afghanistan because the development projects cannot come up unless until there is stability in Afghanistan.
No doubt, no doubt. There's um, anyway, Smriti, I must thank you. Even at a time when you're not, fully, you're still not too well. You gave your time, and wish you Godspeed in getting back to, normal. And there's a lot happening. We look forward to um, having another chat sometime in the future. The best to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Anil.